Isn't this title so funny? You should be laughing. Avengers Doomsday is probably the most talked about Marvel project currently. I think that's safe to say. I know I'm excited for it, but probably not for the reasons that most people actually are. I actually want to see this movie can pull this off, because it's got a lot going against it. Now, it's not really a secret that this new saga for the MCU was supposed to end with the Avengers Kang Dynasty and then wrap up with Avengers Secret Wars. And then, Jonathan Majors kind of got arrested, and then they kind of just scrapped the whole Kang idea, which honestly probably was a smart idea. Having your big bad's debut movie be against Ant-Man, and then have him lose.
I am not a dick!
To a bunch of ants. It's not really that cool. Definitely not on the same level as Thanos. Since Endgame, we've gone just... Wait. Has it actually been 7 years since Endgame? Oh my god. Anyway. Since Endgame, we've just gotten mediocre movie after mediocre movie. And then, we got a few decent ones sprinkled in there. But those were deemed to be like the greatest movies ever for just being an above average movie. During this time, we also got the term superhero fatigue. Now, I think mainly this is just because Top Gun Maverick came out and they kind of destroyed everything in the box office. And also Marvel movies are just very bad. So with all these movies going into production with the idea that Kang will be the big bad, obviously Doctor Doom didn't really show up. So he's been in one movie, and that was Fantastic Four in the post-credit scene. And we didn't even get to hear him speak. We have no idea who this guy is yet. While Doctor Doom is probably one of the most recognizable comic book villains of all time, not many people actually know what the character is supposed to be like. Now, there's a reason for that. Doctor Doom is extremely complicated. Unlike Thanos, who was pretty much made up entirely for Infinity War, and no one really cared about that, because no one really cared about Thanos. Yeah, that's right, nerds. Everyone's favorite villain is actually nothing like the comic book counterpart. The Thanos in the comic was actually this massive bitch who wanted to be loved by Lady Death. Well, he failed. He got cucked by Deadpool. Now, the reason why you can't really change Doom in the movie is because, well, they already kind of tried that. It didn't really work. Well, I feel like that's kind of obvious. People weren't really talking about how good Doctor Doom was in these movies. They basically just tried to make a Norman Osborn from, like, Spider-Man 1. And it didn't work, like, at all. Since there's no real movie-accurate Doctor Doom, and the MCU has basically failed to build him up as a character, I'm just going to go over his origins in the comics and just give a brief summary. Doom was born in the made-up country of Latveria. Doom's father was a scientist and his mother practiced dark magic. Eventually, both his parents passed away, and he decided to study both science and magic. He would use the magic to try and free his mother's soul from Mephisto, who had it in hell. So I guess you kind of have to introduce Mephisto in the... Wait. He's already in the MCU? When did that happen? Oh! Yes, he's in the beloved show Ironheart that everyone loved.
Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire?
Yes. Eventually, Doom was offered to attend college in America, which he accepted. That's where he met Reed Richards. And he kind of just ended up hating him for no good reason. Like, I guess he just didn't like his face or something. I don't know. So good luck trying to explain that one, Marvel, for the first time. If I had to guess, Marvel probably won't show Doom trying to make his, like, dimensional chair thing, just try and save his mother, which ended up blowing up, which is actually how he got the scar on his face, which he then thought that he was so ugly that the world could never see his face again. So that's how he got the mask. Which makes you wonder why Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor Doom, other than, like, money, of course. Because Doom is not supposed to show his face, like, at all. After all this, Doom returns to Latveria and then liberates the entire country. He also declares himself ruler. So that's basically like the bare bones of the lore of Doctor Doom, which is already a lot. I could have gone into a lot more detail, but this video would have been like, I don't even know, like over an hour long. The main storylines that involve Doom that I've seen basically involve him trying to rescue his mother from hell. Personally, one of my favorites is when he actually teamed up with Doctor Strange. Oh, also, yeah, no, by the way, Doctor Doom is basically on the same power level as Doctor Strange. But the two of them went to go confront Mephisto to go free Doom's mother, which actually worked. Spoilers, I guess. If I had to guess, though, the movie probably won't focus on Doom's mother, like, at all. And it'll probably just be him using Franklin to form, like, Battle World or something. Well, this is a lot to cover in just one movie. So surely Marvel brought in the right guys to, like, make it all work. Right? Now, I'm aware that this is a very bold claim, but hear me out. I'm going to briefly talk about 4 Russo films, 3 of which are Marvel movies, and then the last one being their most recent movie. Captain America Civil War might be one of the most overrated Marvel movies I have ever seen. I'm not even saying like it's that bad. It's just beyond overrated. It's been like 10 years at this point, and people are still talking about Team Iron Man and Team Captain America. Which is the stupidest thing in the world, because Captain America is a fucking terrorist in this movie. But anyway, this movie deals with the idea that the Avengers are actually a danger to the world, in that they need to be regulated.
Who's going to avenge my son, Stark?
They already did.
He's dead.
You idiot. They beat Ultron. Your son was avenged. All the examples that Ross gives about why the Avengers are actually a danger to the world are beyond stupid. Because none of them are the Avengers' fault. Except this one. This was on them.
And I was tangled in strings.
Ultron was pretty bad. But the rest of these were literally just the Avengers trying to save as many people as possible. SHIELD was going to nuke fucking New York! I don't understand. No one brought that up. So, like, ignoring the fact that, like, the Accords are just kind of confusing to begin with, like, why they exist. But let's just kind of ignore that for now. Like I said at the beginning, Captain America might as well just be a terrorist at this point, because he has no reason to actually say no to the Accords. He's upset that the government is telling him what to do. Meanwhile, he's a World War II soldier. This guy should have no issues taking orders from the government. Also, eventually when they do fight, there's like no stakes. No one's really that mad at each other. They're all just kind of like half-assing it.
We're still friends, right?
Depends on how hard you hit me.
Rhodey ends up being fine.
Sorry.
Cap and Tony are not even mad at each other over the whole Accords thing. No, Tony's mad that Bucky killed his mother. What does that have to do with everyone else? This is stupid. Tony doesn't even fully agree with the Accords. By the end of the movie, he just was like, oh yeah, no, I made a mistake. But anyway, all this just gets resolved by Infinity War. So like, none of this actually matters at all. The only person in this movie that actually has real motivation that I can get behind is T'Challa. Because, you know, like, Bucky killed his dad, and now he wants to kill Bucky. It's pretty reasonable. I have to give the movie credit where it's due. I enjoyed the Black Panther subplot. But other than that, the pacing of the movie just kind of feels like a little bit all over the place. There's so many storylines that are going on. There's so many characters. And I just don't feel like the movie juggles it particularly well. I think people will look fondly on this movie because it's essentially just like a child playing with their action figures. Infinity War and Endgame are the reason why these two guys were hired to make Doomsday to begin with. Because they're both good movies. Infinity War is probably the best MCU movie ever made. I think that's not a far-fetched opinion. It is beyond impressive how they managed to pull off this movie, because by all means, it really shouldn't have worked. But it did. Part of the reason why I actually think Infinity War works so well is because the story was simple. Thanos wasn't this household name that everyone knew at the time, so they changed the character. They made him basically an ego-terrorist instead of like a dude who just wants to impress a lady. which was a fantastic choice. Also, no one really talks about this, but I feel like the movie kind of is almost like the comic book All-Star Superman. That's right, I'm bringing up Superman because this movie managed to tell a better All-Star Superman story than the actual Superman movie that just came out. Suck it, James Gunn! I actually don't have a problem with James Gunn. I just kind of find it a little bit funny. Like All-Star Superman, Infinity War is essentially a bunch of our favorite characters doing these like little mini side quests trying to stop Thanos, who essentially serves as our main character in the movie. So we see our heroes go on these adventures, while Thanos kind of intertwines everything all together. Now, with Endgame, while the movie is worse, it's not a bad movie. It's kind of more like a big event than a real movie. The pacing's a little off, but like you don't really care because you've been watching these movies for 10 years, you've grown up with these characters, and you just want to see a satisfying conclusion. And that's what Endgame was. It was satisfying. That's all it had to be. The Electric State is pretty much only known because of how expensive the budget was. Which I don't fully understand why it was so expensive, because like movies like 20 years ago looked better than this movie. Like, not saying the movie looked bad, it's just that like we've seen better for cheaper. The movie takes this cool idea and essentially does like nothing with it. The movie is basically about how the world is at war with robots. And the only way that humans are able to overcome it is that they had to discover new technology that basically put their minds into robots themselves, so they can fight the robots while their body rested. Yeah, no, so we see none of that in the movie. What we actually follow is Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt, who's friends with this fucker over here. Well, they go on a quest to find Millie Bobby Brown's thought-to-be-dead brother, whose mind is also currently in this stupid robot. I don't know. It's dumb. This movie has so much lore to go over, and it just filled with just such bad exposition.
The world's different now. I just wanted to tell you why.
So at the end, when Millie Bobby Brown pulls the plug on her brother, I don't really care. I felt no emotions. Actually, that's not true. The emotion I did feel was happy, because I was happy the movie was about to end. Oh yeah, I should probably mention that her brother is apparently so smart that he powers every single robot in the world using his brain. So when he got into the car accident, they kept them alive because of that. Not really relevant to the story, but I actually thought the two of these people were dating. So I was really kind of disturbed when I found out they were siblings, because they're just way too touchy. Anyway, it's just a soulless movie with too much going on. There are so many cheers here. Oh my god. Also, I guess spoiler warning, because I got a few predictions. I don't really know why you're watching this video if you care about spoilers, but anyway. There is a reason why so-and-so will appear in Avengers Doomsday has become such a meme. It's because there's so many people in this movie. It's insane. It's getting harder and harder to believe that they can actually pull this off, because how am I going to care about all these characters? There's not going to be enough time dedicated to each and every single one of them to actually care about them. It's becoming more of like, oh look, you recognize that person, so you have to like this movie, other than caring about the characters. Look at Thunderbolts. Did anyone really care about any of these people to begin with? No. They're not like these ultra recognizable characters. But you actually grew to like them because the writing was good. But keep in mind, with Doomsday, we're talking about characters that span back 20 years. 20 years. The majority of these people haven't interacted. Now, here's my little theory. I don't think Tom Holland's Spider-Man will appear in Doomsday. I think something will happen in his movie coming up. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think there's going to be a Spider-Man in this movie. No, I think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is going to appear, because there's supposedly a leaked action figure of Tobey's Spider-Man for this movie. And people who make these action figures, they know about these characters way in advance, because they have to get the toys out by the time the movie comes out, so they know. Also, Hugh Jackman has talked about wanting to be with Spider-Man before. He was supposed to appear in the original Spider-Man movie back in 2002, but something happened with the suit, and then they canceled the cameo. But the Russo brothers, these guys are nerds. They're gonna want to make this happen. I also just have to give a whole bunch of credit for the Russos to even take on this challenge of making this movie, because there is so much they have to do and so much they have to overcome that it's intimidating, and I have to applaud them for at least trying. So that's all I got today. I'm curious on what you guys have to think. Please leave a comment. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe. That's all. Adios.